Okay, today's broadcast, we're gonna be talking about team registration, grants, and in setting up events and so on. And that's our 6 o'clock one. And at 6:30, we're going to kind of continue it on with First Check Challenge. But there will be some things in there that actually may pertain to FRC as well. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ron Therian, the Director of Programs for First Chesapeake. And tonight I wanted to start out with FRC specifically because I've been kind of following online along and seeing what teams are registered. And like right now we have 36 teams that have paid with only 20 of them registered. And out of those 20, there's 7 of those 20 are teams that haven't paid yet at all. So I want to make sure that everybody gets, I guess, what they have coming to them. If you look at the NASA grant piece that's here, you specifically have to apply to that. And if you look, it's November 16th. So by November 16th, you have to apply for that grant. You'll get it automatically. It's basically, you click on the link and it goes to the submittable site on here. And in essence, all you have to do is you create an account down there. You type in your name and your team number. And within the day, they'll put the $450 onto your account in your dashboard. So that's a pretty easy one, but the $450 doesn't come automatic. So you need to make sure that you apply for it and you'll pretty much get it. The other one that's on here is a new team grant. And I mean, obviously that was what used to be called the rookie grant. In essence, just, I guess so everybody knows, we actually have 3 teams that have created accounts out there to come in as rookies. So they would be able to get these grants and basically be able to compete this season kind of for free. But the 2 that are on the bottom, if you are that Wheels on the Carpet voucher, if you're one of our 25 teams that didn't compete this past season, you need to actually apply for that grant, that voucher, and tell them when you want to spend it. So if you are you want it applied towards your 2020 season, they sent you an email, and from that email, it's a link. And again, it's another submittable thing. You follow that link and you go in and actually tell them that you want to apply it this year. If you don't do anything, it will automatically get applied to the 2022 season. So if you're even thinking about it, you need to do that pretty soon before they flip that over to the next season. Once they flip it over, they said they won't bring it back. So the other one, though, the Equity and Access Grant, that used to be called the GAP grant or the hardship grant and came under a lot of different names. Well, this year they're saying that grant will end up being opened up to a lot more teams. So a lot more teams will be eligible to get funds from that. So, if you are having problems in there and you think you need some assistance with some of these, you need to basically contact me and I'll try to help you through any of these or anything else that we can kind of come up with funds for you. The thing about all these grants that are in here, they're mainly meant for paying your registration fee. So they're not going to give you funds to take out. But for, the fact that it's the $2,000 amount that's in there, you're getting $450 already from the NASA if you apply for it. So you don't need too much extra for funds in there. So that's kind of what I wanted to hit on in there. The thing that it's a little more complicated, and I think some of the teams that paid, the reason that they probably didn't go through and register, and I just picked the team here that I could actually show you, but if you have it, if a team shows up down there where it says event ready, I mean, that basically means that they signed the consent release and they've the 2 lead mentors have passed YPP screening. And so if you are event ready, then and also all those teams that paid are event ready, you actually need to go into here and do 2 things. One is you select your kit and kickoff options. And this year, there is no kickoff, but in essence, you tell it where that's going and fill in your information, and they're going to send your kit of parts directly to you at whatever location you pick. They were fortunate enough to get FedEx is basically doing it as a sponsorship. So everybody's doing that. So but the other, I guess I hit read. The other one in here is you need to do the view team events. And this is where you actually would register for the season. And if I come in here and I do the search, if I was to do this, I would basically, if I was going to register that team, I would just come in here and on there and click on there and say register, and that's where you would be in for the season. So just by doing payment, you're not actually registered for anything. So I just wanted to get everybody in here to kind of make sure you get through that section in there. And if anybody has any questions or anything, once we finish, we'll go back and talk about that as well. Now I want to kind of go on, and we'll if you have any questions also in the registration process, just contact me. I can help walk you through it pretty easily. The next thing I want to talk about though is events, because really this registration process that you pay to First Headquarters is the remote. It gives you access to the remote options that they have this year. And it also gives you access to all the judging. So the remote judging piece of it is what would be included in here. But we're also looking at having our own events during the season, and that would be an additional registration process. So it would work just like we do with FTC, where we actually run the registration system. You get in there and you would pay through that registration system for the events. And we do it the same. You do two hybrid events. Obviously, they would be, the small events like we talked about, being scaling from the 50 people at an event, on up, depending on whatever the current requirements are, local and CDC requirements are for doing those kind of things. So that would be a separate thing. We're working with headquarters on trying to figure out what we can do with that. Most likely, whatever we do, may not be official first events, but we'll run them just like the first events, and we'll run them with the first field and so on, just so we can get through and everybody gets to compete. The next thing I want to show you is, and I'll pop this one up there. Hang on, remove that one. I'll stick this one up here. This is actually a field layout that we put together for FTC. So it's not directly FRC related, but from a safety perspective, we're going to try and do the same thing at both. We have a safety plan that we've written, and that'll be coming out soon, and you'll get to see that. I'll actually show you that in a few minutes. But in essence, what it is when teams arrive, the entire team arrives at the front door. You'll get your temperature checked. We'll make sure you have masks and safety glasses. You'll have to bring a consent and release form with you, so that that'll get turned in, and we'll use that kind of if we need to for contact tracing, so we know everybody who's there, who came and went from the event. And then you'll also get a little wristband, a paper wristband. And the reason for that is so we don't have to go through and screen you twice, as well as we don't want somebody leaving and another student coming and replacing them or whatever. So you'll actually end up with a wristband for that. So once you're inside, the goal is, and again, this would be a minimum sized area for FTC even, but you have your regular pit size, you have 10 feet in between, right, on them. And in essence, the field is there. There's a perimeter around the field. If you look, I have marked shields in 3 spots on their field. So on the FTC field, we're actually putting a shield, a clear shield in between the 2 alliance partners and between the 2 human players, so that there's no contact. So the goal here is each of the cohorts that come in, each team will be considered its own little pod, and we're trying to keep the teams separate. So when you're there, you'll be in your pit. And it's not like you'll be wandering around to other people's pits, so that we can keep the distance going through that. So, in essence, we're trying to do this as safely as we possibly can. You'll have contact with your team members, but not with others. And we're going to be very strict about this for several reasons, but some of them I've actually shared in the last 2 days that our safety plan with several school systems that are interested in if they're going to allow their students to come to some of our events, they want to know what we have in place to try and keep everybody as safe as possible. So, Matt, can you flip to the next one? There. So this one here is what we're actually trying to do at events. So we kind of have, if you look at the top line on there, what the goal is, we want to create a virtual stands thing. So if you're limited in how many people can actually attend at the event, so the drive team basically and mentors will be there. So the rest of your team will be at home, and what we're looking at doing is actually having it so all the teams that are at that event will get into meeting rooms, and whenever their teams get on the field to compete, we'll move them from the meeting room into the virtual stands, and then stream that to a screen at the event, and also you'll be able to hear the people talking. So the goal is to hook up a speaker so that you can actually be talking. The remote people can be yelling in the stands, in essence. So we're trying to get that going. And then the other pieces of this is because we're going to limit the number of people at the event. And again, this chart is more oriented towards FTC, but we're going to use the FTC kind of as the model for FRC. The big thing on here is that, like for the CSA in particular, is we're going to have a tablet that people can come up and actually use to talk to a CSA team at the other end. So if we have multiple events going at the same time, a CSA could support, both events or whatever. But the goal is that those students would not actually sign into anything. They would just take that tablet, hit a button on the tablet and say, I need to talk to somebody. And then they talk. And if they can handle it there, that's fine. And then go back to their pit area, or take that tablet back, talk, and then go bring it back. The thing, and it kind of brings in the other pieces, that we're coming up with a few new volunteer roles, one of which is a safety person that actually kind of monitors those things. So if somebody uses that tablet or whatever, they'll come over and wipe it down once that group of students is done with it. And they'll also monitor other areas and keep things in there. And I know some people have asked different questions, like, like at the bathrooms, we're gonna provide the disinfectant as well as wipes, so you can wipe things down and so on. So all those things will be there. If we have to use gloves for certain things, we'll provide the gloves for like field reset or things like that if we need to. And so we'll kind of go that way. And then the other one is we're gonna stream all this back to Twitch, and because these events will, with smaller groups of teams, you're not going to have as much time between matches. But if we have 2 events running simultaneously, or even 3 events running simultaneously, we will be switching between them. So our main Twitch feed will be streaming, all 3 events or all 2 events or whatever going on at the same time. And that way, we'll run a match at one of them, and while they're getting ready for the next one, we can be running a match at a second venue and having that one go through. So we'll run that feed that way, and in essence, we'll have to figure out, because how we split the matches. We'll have to figure out how we're going to do the matches to say that this match is match 1 from wherever, but so they'll be available online later for everybody to use. And you can see we have a new role at the bottom on the left there, a commentator thing, and that's kind of to fill some of the dead space in between matches, so that we're not running them so fast that people can't keep up, or can't repair their robot in between or whatever. the commentators will fill in there, and we're looking at potentially asking teams to, kind of do a team introductory little video clip or whatever that we can fill in between. So somebody would contact you, do a little interview with you, you'd record that video, and then we'd be able to play those throughout the time at those venues, and kind of go from there. The big thing, the other thing I think a lot of people always ask is, on cameras, if you take the field, we plan on having views of the cameras so that, you'll be able to have one aerial one and 3 other cameras around to see different areas that we deem that we need to focus on, in order for everybody to see as much as they can. So hopefully everybody can see that, we're trying to really get this, to try and involve as many people who can't come to the event as possible. The other question I know I've been asked in the past also is, if I bring the drive team or whatever, that group that comes to the first event, does it have to be the same group for the second event? That's totally up to you guys. It's if you want to bring other kids, to allow other kids to actually come to the event, that's fine as well. I mean, obviously we don't want to bring anybody sick there, but that's pretty much it. So, all right. So the next thing, and I'll move on to, I got one more piece here that I'm going to do. And I guess I got to take that one down to put this one up. Whoop. Okay. Hit the button too many times. I just wanted to kind of hit on this thing real quick. Like, we're actually creating, and it's not, all the data on here isn't totally set up on this page. It happens to be, but it has the events listed on here. So you can see all the events that would be going. And if I do the FRC one, all those maps that I had showed everybody before, I think in the town halls that you guys have seen, if I click on it, I can see those maps. I can, they're all interactive. So you can click on a team, and like on here, it's basically lists the 3 circles and how many miles that team is from each one of those circles, that kind of thing. Now I got to go back here, and we don't have the events here because we're still kind of working on it. We've been focusing more on FTC because they're the ones that are actually there first. So the goal is to have this totally populated for FRC and FTC by November 1st. But we put the dates in there. We also have a thing in here is what I did was we created Google calendars that have all the events in there. So I think the easiest thing probably is go back over. If I look at this guy here, that has the events, but it also has upcoming things that are pertinent to that program that are in that Google calendar. And so they actually just display on here through that. So we'll have the same exact thing for FRC. And then I'll give you a quick preview here, but this is the kind of thing that the event page would look like specifically for teams. And we have these buttons obviously are not live right now, but they will be. I'm basically going to go through this in more detail on the FTC side. So if you guys are interested, just stick around for the second half hour here, and we'll go ahead and I'm going to go through it in more detail. So, but the FRC side will end up looking just like this one. Okay, so I guess we can flip to some questions. I don't know how many we have, but let's see. Will there be increased distance between each of the pits? Yeah, you see, if you look, each of the pits are 10 feet. So we're trying to do 10 feet in between them because we know that even with a smaller group of people, because we're trying to keep everybody kind of contained around the pit as much as possible because there are no stands. You know, you need a little bit more room there because, you know, people may go outside of it. And if they do, we'll still want to maintain, you know, the 10 feet if possible. So if you look at them, you can kind of see 10 feet between all of them, and then 10 feet between there and wherever any people would be. Do we have any other questions, Matt? Or yeah, please go ahead and put questions in the chat out there if you can. I guess while we're waiting, I'll just go ahead and show you a couple things. Like on this guy here, you know, we embedded the, you know, where do you park, where do you go into this particular venue. This venue's in Southwest Virginia. We've got some of our venues kind of, you know, locked in, but a couple of them we're still working on that. But we have the general areas, and that's what's on those maps, are the general areas of where these things would be. So so I mean so you can see the parking thing. You know, we're going to put the scheduling thing in here. I'll hit it here. You can actually the safety plan that's in there. It's written up in there. You'll be able to, you know, get it on here, print it, download it, whatever you need to do with it. Same thing, because we're saying you need to consent and release at the events. Same thing with consent and release. If you print those out, get them to be signed ahead of time before the people come through. Before they come to the event, we'll go ahead and do that. And then I guess one of the other ones, and I'll look at a couple of these others in a second, but we're going to do the thing where, and these were just a bunch of teams that were going to one of those sites. They're not registered or anything, just for the piece. But, you know, we'll have rankings, awards, the whole thing. We'll be able to do it right on that site. So you'll be able to click around and have that all tied in. I see there's another question that came in. It said, how many groups will rotate in a day? So with the 50 limit, we're looking at running 8 teams through. So it would be eight teams that would come through. And we'd run 3 cohorts of them. So we'd have three of those groups of 8 that first day and 2 the second day. So on Saturday, we'd have 3 groups. On Sunday, we'd have 2 groups. Okay, any other questions? I couldn't possibly have answered all your questions. I don't. All right. So I think Matt posted the link to that site out there that we have going. So you can actually go to that site, but again, you know, it's kind of a work in progress until the November 1st. So if you see things on there or whatever, you know, can easily give us the feedback on it. But the goal is to automatically update a lot of this stuff via the databases come from the other side. Another question on here, might have missed this, but how many members per team? So the whole thing, I guess, is that number depends on kind of what the current rules are. So like right now we have for indoor events, a lot of the counties are sitting at 50 people max. There are some that have gone to 100 and so on. And so based on what those requirements currently are, would make that might change that. But right now we're looking at 5. So it'd be 5 coming in and that would be able to grow depending on if we could put more people through the venue. So, and it'd be the same with the volunteers. We're going to keep the volunteers as low as we possibly can so that we can get the teams up as much as we possibly can. And does that include coaches? And yes, that does include the coaches. And again, once we get a little bit more of the details out, we'll be able to nail those numbers down better when, as we get closer to events. But just plan on the fact it's going to be a small number of people. I was going to. So here, okay, the capacity depends on the county where the event is being held. It's would be related to the county it's being held in, but it has to depend on, we can't do something. It depends on the teams that are coming also, right? I mean, we want to make it fair to everybody. So it would be, because if it's located in a spot and there's 3 counties around it and one county is tighter than the others, that's the county we'll probably hold our standard to, so that everybody gets a fair shake. I mean, our goal is to, have some kind of celebration for everybody and get as many people there as we possibly can safely. So. Okay. Are neighboring state teams being permitted to attend? No, we're basically closing our borders as far as that goes. So neighboring states won't be able to come in, and we're trying to do this so that everybody, if you go to those maps and look at those maps, you're in those maps, you're assigned to a cluster, and inside of that cluster, that's your home event because you're within it's the closest one to you. We're going to let people into those based on it being your home event, but we're not going to prevent you from being able to, you'll be able to go to one of the other events if you think you can, if your school or your community-based team or whatever has decided that it's okay to do it, you will be allowed to actually move to to go to any event as long as there's space. Okay, we got info on the Innovation Challenge today. Any word on other judging at events? At this point in time, there is no word on at how they're going to have all that judging go. They have not released all the details about the judging and how it's going to come out. We are, we'll get that out there as soon as we can to teams, but. First thing we need to do is we need to get it out to our judge advisors first so that they can kind of, absorb it and figure out exactly how we're going to do it. They haven't even released all the details on the Dean's List process. And this year they've combined the Dean's List process is exactly the same for FRC as it is for FTC. So they have a slightly different process for that, and they're working on the details for that as well. And I've already been asked about more people wanting more info about the Innovation Challenge, and I guess none of us know the answer. I was on a call today, and that actually came up, and more information is coming, but all anybody seemed to have is what came out in the blast today that went out to everybody. The other question I guess we had from that I just wanted to put out there is that for if you register to pay and it comes out that we end up having to cancel event, if we end up having to cancel event, you'll get 50% back. I mean, obviously we're outlaying cash in order to get into these venues because they're commercial places, and so you'll be able to get 50% back if we have to cancel an event. Now, if it snows or it's an event like that, we'll be able to make that. We'll move it to a different date and do a makeup game. So I think that about wraps us up. And if you want, stick around for the second session on FTC, and there'll be a little bit more event stuff for that related to FTC. So